The Middle East's long-simmering rivalry, a complex web of geopolitical tensions and historical grievances between Iran and Israel, two nations with vastly different ideologies and strategic ambitions, has exploded into open war, a dramatic escalation that threatens to destabilize the entire region. This sudden shift has shattered decades of covert conflict, a period marked by clandestine operations and proxy battles. What was once a shadowy chess match, a game of strategic maneuvering played in the shadows, of proxies and sabotage carried out by intelligence agencies and non-state actors, is now a direct exchange of fire, a dangerous and unpredictable confrontation with potentially devastating consequences. The world is watching in fear as the conflict intensifies and the risk of miscalculation grows. The U.S. has been drawn in to support Israel, reaffirming its commitment to the country's security, raising the specter of a wider regional war, a scenario that could engulf neighboring countries and draw in other global powers. This conflict has global consequences impacting energy markets, trade routes, and international relations. The old rules are gone. Diplomatic norms and established protocols have been cast aside. Both nations are striking each other's territory, engaging in direct military action that was previously unthinkable, creating a level of unpredictability not seen in generations, leaving the world on edge, unsure of what comes next. The shadow war is over. The era of deniability and indirect confrontation has come to an end. The world now faces the dangers of open conflict, a stark and unsettling reality that demands immediate attention and de-escalation efforts, with global stability hanging in the balance, threatening to tip the world into a new era of uncertainty and instability. The crisis erupted with a suddenness that caught many off guard. It all began when Israel initiated Operation Rising Lion, a move that would dramatically alter the geopolitical landscape. The operation was specifically targeting high-ranking Iranian commanders who were stationed in Damascus. This was not merely a symbolic gesture, it was a calculated strike aimed at the heart of Iranian influence in the region. Iran's response was historic, marking a significant departure from its previous strategies. The world watched with bated breath, anticipating the scale and nature of their retaliation. In a display of force, Iran launched hundreds of missiles and drones, directing them straight at Israeli territory. This unprecedented direct attack signaled a dangerous escalation of the conflict. The sheer volume of the attack shattered Israel's long-held sense of security, exposing vulnerabilities and raising serious questions about its defense capabilities. The psychological impact was immense. Seeing the situation spiral, the U.S. swiftly intervened, stepping into the fray to prevent a full-blown regional war. In a move that further inflamed tensions, the U.S. began striking Iranian nuclear sites, justifying the action as necessary to prevent further escalation and potential nuclear proliferation. This intervention transformed the conflict into a complex three-way confrontation, with Israel, Iran, and the United States now directly engaged in hostilities. The stakes had been raised dramatically. Now both Iran and Israel are locked in a dangerous cycle, trading missile and drone attacks with increasing frequency and intensity. Each side is meticulously targeting the other's military and strategic infrastructure, hoping to cripple their opponent's ability to wage war. The attacks are becoming more precise and devastating. Daily life has been completely upended, marked by the constant wail of air raid sirens and the ominous sight of mobilized armies preparing for the next strike. The world watches with growing anxiety, fearing that the next escalation could trigger a wider regional conflict with catastrophic consequences. The war has unfortunately settled into a grinding pattern of attack and counterattack, a seemingly endless cycle of violence that offers no respite. As it stands, there is no clear end in sight, leaving the region trapped in a state of perpetual conflict and uncertainty. The region stands precariously on a knife's edge, teetering between uneasy calm and all-out war. In this tense standoff, each side is relentlessly testing the other's resolve, probing for weaknesses and seeking any advantage in this high-stakes game. The roots of this conflict run deep, beginning with Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, which turned former allies into bitter enemies. Iran's regime sees Israel as illegitimate. Israel views Iran's nuclear ambitions as an existential threat. Decades of covert operations, assassinations, and cyber attacks have fueled mutual suspicion and fear. Both nations have relied on proxies. Iran's axis of resistance surrounds Israel while Israel strikes back across the region. Each escalation has eroded restraint, making direct war almost inevitable. The rivalry is now a relentless cycle driven by ideology, nuclear fears, and the struggle for regional dominance. The war's shockwaves are global, rippling outwards to touch every corner of the planet. The interconnected nature of our world means that no nation is immune to the repercussions of this conflict. We are witnessing a crisis that transcends borders. Oil prices have soared, climbing to levels unseen in recent years. This surge is directly impacting consumers and industries alike. This threatens economies worldwide, creating instability in financial markets and casting a shadow over global economic growth. The ripple effects are being felt from Wall Street to Tokyo. The Strait of Hormuz and Red Sea, vital shipping lanes for global commerce, are at risk of disruption, potentially crippling international trade. This disrupting supply chains leading to delays and shortages of essential goods, and driving up costs for everyone, fueling inflation and eroding purchasing power for families around the globe. Attacks on tankers and critical infrastructure threaten shortages of fuel, exacerbating the energy crisis and impacting transportation and industry. Food, creating food insecurity in vulnerable regions and driving up prices at the grocery store. And medicine, jeopardizing public health and access to essential medical care. Humanitarian crises are mounting, placing immense strain on resources and international aid organizations. With civilian casualties and refugees overwhelming existing support systems, the need for assistance is greater than ever. This is straining neighboring countries and aid groups who are struggling to cope with the influx of displaced people. The risk of a wider war looms, casting a long shadow over the region and the world. As U.S. intervention increases, the potential for escalation grows, and the competing interests of Russia and China add further complexity to the situation. This threatens to turn the region into a global battleground, with potentially catastrophic consequences. The world faces the nightmare scenario of a conflict spiraling far beyond the Middle East, engulfing nations and destabilizing entire regions. The stakes are nothing less than global security, the very foundation of peace and stability, and economic stability, the lifeblood of prosperity and well-being for billions around the world. This is no simple conflict. Decades of history, ideology, and security fears make peace elusive. Endless escalation offers only devastation. The logic of force leads to a dead end. The world must urgently push for diplomacy, creating channels for de-escalation and addressing the root causes. Only coordinated global pressure can bring both sides to the table and prevent catastrophe. The hope for peace demands courage, compromise, and a willingness to step back from the brink. Understanding the stakes and working tirelessly for a diplomatic solution is the only way to pull the world back from the edge.